Have you ever looked at all the chaos in the world and wondered, what if it's not random? What if it's all part of some grand cosmic plan? Well, the source material we're digging into today presents a pretty wild theory, a theory about a massive global shift that's just around the corner. So, yeah, let's dive right in. So, right out of the gate, here's the core claim from our source. I mean, that's a huge statement, right? We're not talking about small changes. We're talking about the entire power structure we know just crumbling, and all within the next couple of years, leading to a worldwide revolution.
Okay, so when you hear a prediction that massive, you've got to ask, right? Who's saying this? And how in the world are they coming up with it? Is this some think tank, an economic forecast? Nope. The answer our source gives, well, it's not what you'd expect.
The source for all this is a psychic communicator, so let's take a look at who this person is and the pretty unconventional methods he says he's using to get this information.
All right, so the person we're talking about is Brad Johnson. He's apparently been doing this since 2008, and his methods are, well, they're out there. He claims to channel non-human entities, one named Adronis, who's supposedly Assyrian, another called Athena from Inner Earth, and on top of that, he uses tools like tarot and something called the Akashic Records.
So you're probably wondering, what in the world are the Akashic Records? Well, according to the source, think of it like a cosmic internet, a giant universal library containing everything that's ever happened, been thought, or even intended. But the key thing here is how Johnson says he accesses it. It's not about seeing some movie play out. He says he changes his brainwaves, goes into this super deep meditative state, and the information just kind of pops into his head, like these intuitive impressions or sudden moments of just knowing something.
Okay, so now we know who is making these predictions and how. Let's get into the what. At the very heart of all this is a massive conflict. And we're not just talking politics here. This is framed as a full-on cosmic battle for the future of our planet.
So, who's in this fight? According to the source, it all boils down to two major sides, two big factions with completely opposite goals for all of us here on Earth.
All right, in one corner, you've got what the source calls the deep state. Think centralized systems, corrupt agendas, secret societies, the whole shebang. But here's a really interesting tidbit. The claim is that they're not just being fought from the outside. They're actually starting to fight each other over resources. And then, in the other corner, you have the counterforces. And this is quite a team. We're talking benevolent ETs, future human guardians, ancient gods who are supposedly making a comeback, and all sorts of human and off-world task forces.
But here's the thing. This isn't just a ground war happening here on Earth. The source claims the whole thing is getting a massive boost. It's being supercharged by some very specific things happening out in space. These cosmic events are supposedly the catalyst for everything.
And one of the key players in this cosmic drama, a comet. Specifically, Comet 3I/Atlas. But as you can probably guess, the source says this is no ordinary chunk of ice and rock just flying through space.
So get this. The comet is described as being engineered. It's a tool steered by ETs. Its job is to be a seed planter or a change bringer. As it passes by planets, including Earth and Mars, it apparently leaves behind these little pieces of information in the atmosphere. It's like it's giving the whole planet a frequency upgrade. And the result? It's supposed to trigger an opening of the veils, making it easier for us to see and feel things that are normally hidden.
Okay, so you've got a cosmic battle and a cosmic catalyst. The big question is, where does this all lead? Well, the source doesn't just give a vague answer. It lays out a very, very specific timeline for this global transformation.
All right, let's look at the timeline. It all kicks off in 2026. This is called the Year of the Fire Horse, and it's when we're supposed to see mass global revolutions that completely overthrow the leadership we have now. Then, right after that, in 2027, we hit a fulcrum point. This is when the floodgates open on disclosure. We're talking big reveals about extraterrestrial life and all the history that's been hidden from us. And all of this builds to 2038. The singularity shift. That's described as the end of our reality as we know it, and the start of a whole new universe.
But this isn't just about changing governments or learning about aliens. According to the source, all of this is leading to something even more profound, a fundamental change in us, an evolution of human consciousness itself.
So to really get a grip on what this evolution means, we have to talk about our energetic bodies. Right now, the source says we operate with 7 primary energy centers. You've probably heard of them, chakras. They're said to be the system that runs our whole physical and spiritual experience.
But the prediction is that after that big shift in 2038, we're going to get an upgrade. We're going to move from a 7-chakra system to a 12-chakra system. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because what these 5 news centers connect us to, well, it's pretty cosmic.
So check this out. The expansion is huge. The 8th chakra connects us to the planet, to the Earth itself. The 9th connects us to our star, the Sun. The 10th, to the entire galaxy. The 11th connects us to the universe. And finally, the 12th is all about unity, a connection to our deepest soul. And to top it all off, the source claims that new kids will start being born with 12-strand DNA to match this new energetic hardware. So you might be thinking, okay, this is all pretty far out. Is there any sign of this happening now? Well, the source points to things like the Mandela effect. You know, when tons of people have the same false memory about something from the past. The idea here is that these aren't just glitches in our memory. They're actually symptoms, evidence that different timelines are starting to merge together as we head towards that big shift.
And really, that brings us to the final, kind of mind-bending question, doesn't it? If timelines really are merging, if reality is this fluid thing right now, it really makes you think, which version of reality do you remember? And what does that say about the world you started in?
All right, today we're diving into a report from Star Nation News that paints a picture of our reality that is, well, it's going to challenge just about everything we've been taught. It claims our place in the cosmos and even our very recent history is totally different than we think. So let's get into it.
And right off the bat, we get this quote, which honestly sets the whole tone for everything we're about to cover. The idea here is that these huge changes we're going to talk about, they're not some movie we just get to sit back and watch. No, it's a reality we have to actively build. Keep that thought in your head because it's going to be a recurring theme.
Okay, so here it is, the core claim of the report. Just think about this for a second. It suggests that a silent, absolutely monumental war for control of our solar system has already been fought and won. And according to the source, that outcome changes literally everything for all of us.
So what was this war all about? Well, the source material describes this secret conflict, right? Not fought here on the ground with tanks and soldiers, but up there, in the space all around us. A war between forces vying for the future of humanity and our entire solar system.
Yeah, according to this report, this was a strategic campaign out in space to remove what the source calls regressive presences. These are groups that have allegedly been influencing humanity for thousands of years, and the victory, well, it's described as being incredibly swift and decisive.
So who were the antagonists, the bad guys in this cosmic conflict? The source points to 3 main groups that were defeated and kicked out of our system: the reptilian Seekar Empire, the Nebu Greys, and their alleged human partners in crime, the Dark Fleet. Okay, so you can't have a war this big without a whole bunch of different players, right? To really get a handle on the story being told here, we kind of need a scorecard. So let's break down who's who in this galactic drama.
All right, so here's the breakdown. On the positive side of the ledger, the report says the effort was led by the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and they were working hand-in-hand with a terrestrial white hat group called the Earth Alliance, and they got some help from the ancient Onar Empire. On the regressive side, you had the 2 main occupying forces, the Seekar and the Nebu empires.
Now let's just zoom in on this main positive group for a second. According to the source, the Galactic Federation of Worlds isn't some small team. We're talking about a massive interstellar organization. Think of it like a galactic-scale United Nations, with hundreds of thousands of member cultures, and a pretty powerful military arm that's all about protecting peace and freedom.
So how did this whole liberation actually happen? Well, the source lays out a really clear and honestly surprisingly recent timeline of events that tipped the scales for good.
So check this out. This all supposedly kicked off in July of 2021. That's when these Jupiter agreements were signed, making the alliance official. By the end of that same year, Mars was reportedly liberated. And then, just a few months later, in early 2022, the final cleanup operations wrapped up, and the solar system was officially cleared of major hostile forces. It all happened incredibly fast.
Okay, so if the war's over, what's happening now? This is where the story goes from wow to no way. The report claims that massive projects, things involving brand new technology and planetary restoration, are already happening all across our solar system.
First up, let's head out to Saturn's moon Titan. An Earth Alliance mission has supposedly just finished studying ancient cities floating in Saturn's atmosphere.
Get this, they brought back samples of a material that literally cancels mass, anti-gravity. Imagine what that could mean for technology right here on Earth.
Meanwhile, over on Mars, the report says a massive terraforming project is in full swing. But here's the part that really gets me. The goal isn't for us to go live there. It's to restore the planet's original Earth-like atmosphere to allow a native Martian population, who apparently survived for eons underground, to finally come back to the surface and reclaim their home.
And what about our own moon? It's now described as a secure base for the Earth Alliance. It's become a hub for manufacturing next-gen tech, and one of the biggest projects is the mass production of these things called medbeds, incredibly advanced healing devices that, according to the source, are already starting to be quietly rolled out here.
And as if all of that wasn't enough to process, there's something else going on, right now as we speak. The source material talks about a mysterious interstellar visitor passing through our solar system, an object they call 3I Atlas. You know, our mainstream astronomers might look at it and say, oh, that's just a comet, or maybe a weird-looking asteroid passing through. But this report, it says that's not even close to the truth. Its real nature is something way more profound and way more alive.
So according to this report, 3I Atlas is not a chunk of ice and rock. Not at all. It's described as a living, plasmic consciousness inside a vessel. It's said to be older than our solar system itself, a benevolent explorer that just travels from star to star, gathering information and, get this, feeding on their gravitational fields.
So what does all this mean for us? Right here, on Earth. A liberated solar system? Crazy new technologies? Cosmic visitors? The source is really clear on this point. It means we are at a turning point, a huge one.
And really, the big takeaway here is all about empowerment. The external negative influences, they're gone. The training wheels are off, so to speak. The future isn't something that just happens to us anymore. It's something we now have to actively, consciously create for ourselves. So how do we do it? How do we build this new reality? Well, the source gives us a pretty clear 3-step game plan. Number 1, stop feeding fear. Disengage from all the stuff that's designed to make us panicked and divided. 2, focus your thoughts and your energy on the positive future you actually want to live in. And 3, the most important step, take empowered action. The claim is that our collective efforts, that's the trigger for everything that comes next.
And this quote here, man, this one really brings it all home. The way forward isn't about controlling the world out there, but about mastering the world in here. It's about remembering our own power, our own potential, who we really are.
And that's the story, as presented in the Star Nation news report. It is a breathtaking, mind-bending vision of a new reality. One where humanity is finally free to write its own destiny among the stars. So the question isn't just if a new era has begun. The real question this report leaves us with is, what are we going to do with it?